This is gonna scare you though. I don't know.
No, do it. I love those stories.
This is a real story. So lately, I've been feeling kind of not myself.
What?
Yeah, and you know I'm religious. I'm very religious. So I decided to go to church on a Wednesday.
Oh, okay, that's sick.
So I went to church, and this is gonna sound scary to you, but
Yeah.
when it came time for like communion, you know, when you get the bread, the Eucharist.
Yeah.
This is kind of fucked to say, but like I was walking toward the priest, and I had this urge to laugh. Yeah, fam.
Whoa.
Yeah, no, like I had this urge to like burst out laughing. I was scared, right? I just kept praying, and then you know what I mean, locked it away, like.
Yeah.
And then one night I had a dream. It was like I heard someone screaming. I was in the living room and I heard someone screaming for their life. They were like screaming, like, "Get me out!" Like screaming. This is exactly what I heard in my head. You're gonna get scared. Okay. This is exactly what I heard in my head.
I need to show you guys a video that I saw the other day, and just wait. So the video is coming from mermaidmom_3. She has not posted anything like paranormal or scary or spooky before this or even after this, unless she has, and I'm just like, I haven't seen it yet. Let me show you the video.
This is just randomly going down the stairs with nobody here. Do you see this? No, it started from the top.
That's weird. If that thing flies across the room.
This thing flies across the room. I'm moving out.
It's really cold over here.
It's cold?
No,
it stopped. It stopped.
Now, I'm not dumb. Not everything is paranormal, and I know that maybe like a little movement could have caused that blanket to come down. When she says, if this thing flies across the room, I'm moving out. Why did it stop when she said that? Does it not want her to move out? Why was he saying it was cold? I hope he was lying. Something so subtle like that scares me. It scares me. Also, me with stairs, it's you know what it is? It's The Exorcist. I will never forget that fucking scene. Like, traumatizing. But anyway, it could possibly just not be paranormal, like I said, but it's still very freaky to think about. What do you guys think?
This is the scariest story about I'm Sorry Mommy. One night, a woman was in the kitchen reading a newspaper when she suddenly looked up and saw her 6-year-old son staring at her. She said, "Something wrong, dear?" "I had a nightmare," said the boy, "and I can't sleep." "Well, don't worry, you're safe now," said the mother. "I dreamed I was in bed and heard a sound in Daddy's room," he said. "And when I looked in the door, I saw 2 big black things with white eyes. It came out of the closet and it attacked Daddy." "Don't worry," said the mother in a soothing voice. "It was just a dream. It didn't really happen." The boy then continued saying they ripped him into pieces and then ate him after. "And they even licked the blood off the floor. I thought if I ran away they wouldn't catch me. But they did. They were going to eat me, but they stopped and said, they wouldn't eat me if I promised to..." "To what?" said the mother. "Promise to distract you while they creep up behind you." "I'm sorry, Mommy," said the boy as the mother heard the floorboards behind her creak. The boy then watched with enjoyment as his mother was ripped apart piece by piece, with a giant smile on his face.
Celebrity chef and host of Worst Cooks in America, Anne Burrell, was found dead in her New York home this morning. Dead at the relatively young age of 55. If you don't know who Anne was, she was the host of one of America's most popular food shows, Worst Cooks in America. Side note, I was actually cast on this show a few years ago. They flew me out to New York City. I got to meet the cast that ended up filming that season. Now, they did end up replacing me and then flying me out back home. I never made it onto the show and I never got to meet Anne. But if I would have been given the chance, I would have loved to have competed. Anne was born in 1969 in New York. She discovered her love for food at a young age. She attended various culinary institutes before moving into the restaurant world. And eventually she made her way into television. And finally at one point was cast in the starring role in the television show Worst Cooks. Now, just 5 days ago, Anne posted this photograph on her Instagram, and strangely enough, she looks glowing. She looks incredibly happy and healthy, and an official cause of death has not been released yet. I couldn't find any information about this anywhere, and so it's really unknown exactly what happened here and why it happened. But Anne is definitely going to be missed by all. RIP to her. And yeah, if there are any more significant updates, I'll be sure to hop on and make another video for you guys.
Now, I'm a little iffy about even playing this video. So, before I show you guys this footage, I need you guys to do a little quick protection prayer. All right, you did it? Great. Let's roll the clip. I just want y'all to know that they're saying that they saw the body move. Some people are saying they didn't see it. Some people are saying that they did see the body moving. They're now pulling the kid out of the grave. Everybody running. It's getting real. Y'all see how this is like everyday life? So when we come on here telling y'all this happens in our culture, we ain't lying. It happens. However, I do want to say that this does not represent the entirety of Haiti. Not everybody does black magic. Not everybody does witchcraft. Haiti is basically like half witchcraft and half Christians. And by that video, it seems like this was some kind of scandal. And I had a lot of those growing up in Haiti. So many scandals, like black magic scandals. I already told y'all about that one time that lady slept with this guy and they went to sleep on the same bed, and she woke up and the guy had turned into a snake and wrapped itself around her and wouldn't let her speak or nothing. Bro, there are so many things. Like,
I suffered PTSD over this experience. I couldn't sleep for a week. I was petrified to work my job, but had no choice, and this day still haunts me. Years ago, I was working for a company as a person who measures houses. Most people haven't heard of it. It's where you essentially have an iPad and you go to people's homes and draw up floor plans and measure rooms for carpet, hardwood flooring projects. Anyone can request one. I was 25 female at the time, one of the few females that worked this position. I was actually really good at the job, so they gave me a lot of work, and I usually hit between 10 to 14 houses a day, driving all over multiple towns. This house was my last house of the day, in the middle of nowhere, and I was exhausted. When I got there, I was incredibly annoyed because the customer wasn't home and was late for his appointment. 10 minutes later, he pulls up next to my car. He was a middle-aged man, balding, wearing a normal office job attire with a tie and everything. He seemed a bit awkward, but was apologetic and let me into his home. Upon entering the house, it was unbelievably spotless and organized. Minimal furniture and smelled like cleaning supplies. It didn't strike me as odd at first. He had 2 cats lounging in the living room. He first started acting weird as I directed to the first bedroom. He mentioned, "Wow, my cats love you. They don't usually take to strangers like this." But his cats literally didn't move or come near me the whole time. I just nodded and smiled. All right, hon. Like, I'd be like, fucking weirdo. I just nodded and smiled while he got to work scaling out the master bedroom on my iPad. He started inquiring about the electronics I was using. Do they keep track of where you are on that thing? Immediate red flag. She was like, yes, and my boss knows how long each job should take based on the scope of the work. It's incredible technology. I lied without missing a beat. He agreed it was amazing. Be careful, don't touch the gun on the nightstand. It might go off, he chuckled. Talk about immediate spine chill. I looked up from my iPad and sure enough, there was a handgun on the nightstand. I knew instantly that I needed to behave like nothing that was happening was triggering alarms for me. He directed me to the second bedroom and he said the exact same thing again, warning me of a gun on the nightstand that indeed was there. This was the moment I knew I was in danger. At first I thought it was just my anxiety around guns, but at this point the tension building between us was undeniable. There was only 2 bedrooms on the scope of the work. I hastily met up with him in the kitchen and began running down the next steps, but he interrupted me. Can you measure the basement stairs? I forgot to add them to the list, and I think I might want to carpet them in the future. My heart dropped, but my stupid customer service conditioned brain could not figure out how to get away with saying no. He led me to the basement door.
I'm pretty sure I encountered an actual skinwalker. So this happened a few years ago when I visited my cousin in Pennsylvania for the weekend. Keep in mind, y'all, Pennsylvania is full of wooded areas. So this story happened at night, and it all started because she had to take out the trash. So because it was nighttime, I of course volunteered to help her because she lived in a townhouse. So if you know anything about that, you know that the dumpsters, they're not in front of your house. You have to like walk a little bit to then throw out the trash. So it was in its own designated area, and that of course being right near the woods. So anyways, this night in particular was very foggy, which made it very hard to see. And y'all, I remember when we were walking to the dumpster, it was quiet, but it was an uneasy quiet. You know, like usually you would hear bugs, insects, but this time, nothing. So we're at the dumpster, and I remember getting this weird feeling, and I told my cousin, I was like, can you please hurry up? Because at this point, I want to go back to the house. I'm over being out here. And y'all, of course, after I said that, that's when we both see this small black cat appear out of nowhere. And one thing about my cousin is she loves cats, so I guess she probably thought this was her sign with the cat distribution system, so she decided to follow it. And y'all, that little thing went into the woods. So I obviously, one, wasn't gonna leave her alone, and two, wasn't gonna walk back alone. So I decided to follow her. So we had our flashlights on our phones following the cat, and I remember at one point, the cat like ran between these two trees. And what's really crazy is that when we looked over to see if the cat was there, it wasn't. And yo, where we were standing, there's absolutely no way we couldn't have not seen where the cat went. So the fact that we couldn't see where the cat went freaked us both out. On top of that, this cat led us so far into the woods that we ended up losing connection on our phone. So we couldn't call anybody. So we're standing in the middle of nowhere. It's foggy, it's night, and the only light that we have are our flashlights. At this point, I'm aggravated. So we proceeded to trace our steps in hopes of not going further into the woods. And y'all, when I tell y'all, this is when it got so crazy. So I remember we're walking, and I hear something call my name, but it was faint. And I asked my cousin, I was like, yo, did you just hear that? She goes, no, it's probably your mind playing tricks on you. Oh, okay. Okay. Then, about 5 minutes later, we both now hear the voice of someone calling my name, which sounded like my cousin's mom. How in the world did her mom walk out into the woods? There's absolutely no way, right? So that's when my cousin yells, Mom? Big mistake, because we instantly start hearing the bushes around us start moving as if this thing is coming closer to us. So at this point, I'm freaking out, and I tell my cousin that we need to run because that is just not your mom. That's when we hear the voice say, come over here. That's when I decided that it's time to book it. And when I tell y'all, we ran like we had never ran before. Like, I consider joining track after this. Now, y'all, as we're running, we start to hear stomping and loud crunches from the leaves that are on the ground as it's getting closer to us. I still remember that as we were running, I turned my head for 1 second, and y'all, whatever was chasing us wasn't human and wasn't a damn animal. Maybe my mind was playing tricks on me, but y'all, it was massive. And when I saw this thing, I started screaming like there was no tomorrow. So we finally make it back to the dumpster, and we turn around, and it just isn't there. Nothing. So what's crazy is that the next day we go out into the woods when it's sunny out to see if there were footprints or something, like a trace of something left behind, but there was nothing. But I swear to you, whatever it was just not human. It wasn't from this earth, and I still wonder to this day, what would have happened if we did not run?
This woman's dead body wasn't found for 42 years. A woman named Hedviga Golik sat down in front of her television in her modest Croatian apartment, and sadly never got up again. She died alone, of unknown natural causes, in the quiet solitude of her home. No one heard her fall, no one came knocking, and so time moved on without her. But what makes this story truly unsettling is what happened next, or rather, what didn't. Hedviga's body remained completely undisturbed for the next 42 years. For more than 4 decades, her remains sat in that same chair in front of the same TV. As dust settled, curtains yellowed, and life outside continued as if she had never existed. Neighbors assumed she had just moved away. It wasn't until 2008, when authorities attempted to clear what they believed was an abandoned property, that they made the haunting discovery. When they opened the door, they were greeted by not just cobwebs or rats, but by the chilling sight of a woman long dead, staring blankly at a TV screen that hadn't flickered in decades.
This is the chilling final photo of this woman sent minutes before vanishing. This is the disturbing murder case of Anne Faber. It was the 29th of September 2017. Anne Faber was a beautiful 25-year-old woman from the Netherlands. She was described as passionate, intelligent and warm. She really liked to keep active, and on the day in question she was on a bike ride. This was on the holiday park Horsterwald in Zeewolde. Now, during her bike ride, probably the most annoying thing ever happened. There was a massive downpour of rain. This really scuppered her plans, and she had quite a good sense of humour, so she decided to snap a photo and send it to her boyfriend. At around 6:50 p.m, he received the photo and would never hear from her again. Alarm was raised after Anne failed to return home that day. It was getting darker and darker and colder, and obviously had been really rainy, so her concerned family alerted police. They were absolutely frantic by the end of the evening, and loved ones all began desperately searching the area, but there was still no sign of Anne. Police began a thorough search for any kind of clues as to her whereabouts, and on the 3rd of October, a worrying discovery was made. It was Anne's coat. We all know that it was rainy at the point that she vanished, so why would she have taken her coat off? It just didn't make sense. And then 2 days later, another concerning discovery. It was Anne's bike. Then days later, her backpack and clothing were found. Investigators really knew that the chances of finding her alive now were very slim. Anne had been missing for an agonizing 2 weeks when her body was finally discovered. She'd been murdered. Police sent her clothing off for DNA analysis and matched it to a 27-year-old man. This was Michael Ponhouse. Now, Michael was known in the area for being a convicted S-offender. He'd been held in a psychiatric institution in Den Dolder and was being prepared for his return to society. This was after a long prison sentence. He'd actually been sentenced to 12 years in prison in 2012 for R-ing 2 random teenage girls in 2010. Now, in the Netherlands, S-offenders receiving treatment at psychiatric facilities are required to have constant supervision outside of the facility. However, infuriatingly, due to some so-called privacy laws, Michael was allowed to withhold the fact that he'd been convicted of such a brutal crime. And for this reason, he was infuriatingly not seen as a threat to society. The facility actually allowed him to leave without supervision, and he even had access to his mum's car. Shockingly, he'd been allowed to leave the facility that day on his own when Anne was on her bike ride. Michael did admit to killing Anne, forcing her into the woods and SAing her before brutally ending her life. And shockingly, due to a legal loophole, it wasn't classed as murder. In the Netherlands, murder has to be defined as intentional or premeditated, and Michael basically argued that he only killed her when she screamed for help. Therefore, he was only convicted of qualified manslaughter and sentenced to 28 years.
Today I'm going to be reading scary babysitting stories, and I really hope you're not watching this while you're babysitting. But if you are, it's okay. None of this is going to happen to you. You're fine. I babysat for these 2 little girls, and more than once they'd say they saw something in the other room, but there wasn't anything there. They were like 3 and 6, so I feel like they weren't old enough to trick me, but they were really insistent on having seen a person in the other room. The family I babysit for lives in an older house from the 60s. After the kids went to bed, I was chilling on the couch watching Game of Thrones. I had my headphones in and it sounded like someone calling my name. I took them off and checked the kids, but they were both sleeping. That happened a couple of times and eventually I stopped checking. I feel like I'd be chill if it only happened once and never again, but a couple of times. I was babysitting these 2 girls, and once I had put them down, they kept calling my name and they'd tell me when I got there that something was wrong. I went in and one girl asked if I saw the cat in her window. She was saying that the cat's face was still there, but I saw nothing. I babysat twin girls last summer. I put them to bed upstairs and went to watch TV in the living room across the hall. As I left, looking into the pitch black, I heard a deep voice yelling downstairs. I went downstairs thinking maybe the parents had come home early, but no one was there. I still don't know what that was. It definitely sounded like it was coming from inside the house. There's so many stories. I'm just gonna read them all to you. Recently, I was babysitting brothers and they were both knocked out asleep. Music started playing in their room at around 1 a.m. from their mini record player, but when I looked, there wasn't even a record in the plaything. They slept through all of it. When my little brother was around 6, my mom went out to a birthday dinner. When I went back to go check on him, he was standing in the middle of the room talking to his open closet door. I asked what he was doing and he said he was talking to his friend. The worst part about that is that she lives there. That's her brother. I was babysitting my cousin who was 3 years old at the time when he suddenly started singing the Itsy Bitsy Spider, but with a few lyric changes. It went something like this: the itsy bitsy spider climbed up the water spout and pushed mama off, then the sun came out and ate mama's body. What the fuck? Listen, as long as it wasn't you and it was mom. I babysat this 3-year-old, and every time I babysat him, he'd ask me to check the closet where the screaming comes from, which was at the end of the hallway at the back of the house and was always locked. I literally stopped babysitting him because I couldn't stand it. I babysat him like 5 times and then I was out. I was babysitting for my neighbor, and right before I put them to bed, the youngest, who was about 3, asked me if I had made sure the door was locked. I reassured her that I had, but she seemed really scared, and it seemed a little odd that a 3-year-old would worry about that. So I asked her why she was scared, and she said, because that's how the scary people from the dreams get inside. Imagine if that was like a premonition or something. When we were kids, my little brother never used to want to be in his room at night. He would be fine in there during the day and okay with the rest of the house even once it got dark. But for like a year, we just about shared a bedroom because he was too scared to sleep alone. When I would ask him about it, he would say that there was a little boy in there who would talk to him sometimes and keep him up. He said the boy liked his toys and always wanted to play with him. Once we were in high school, our parents told us his room used to be a boy's room who died in the bathtub. They didn't ever tell us because they didn't want to freak us out. Cool, but like he was seeing the little boy. Who else is never babysitting again, especially not at nighttime?
Hope y'all got y'all snacks, because this is part 2. So they're about to leave the hospital and mom calls. Husband looks at the phone and he's like, interesting. What husband didn't know was that the healer made it so that thing reversed instantly. It didn't take hours. It took a couple of minutes. So he picks up the phone and he's like, hello? Mom is on the other end like, hey son, I'm not feeling good at all. I think I might need to go to the hospital. Mind you, he got her on speaker, so wife heard that. Well, Carolina heard that. And they look at each other and husband goes, yeah, what's wrong? Like, what happened? Mom is like, my stomach is killing me and I'm throwing up and I need somebody to come and help me go to the hospital. Husband is like, oh, really? That's funny, because I'm in the hospital right now with Carolina for the same thing. And mom goes, oh my gosh, it must be like a stomach virus or something, like because we had dinner, maybe like some of the meat was bad. Just trying to come up with excuses to try to hide the fact that she tried to poison Carolina. But husband is still not done playing with her yet, because it's like, how could you even do this? So he's like, yeah, must have been, but she's all good now. She's perfectly fine now. And that seems to kind of shock mom. You can hear it by her voice, but she tries to play it off. But clearly they already know what's up, so that didn't like go over their heads. And so mom is like, are you gonna come pick me up so we can go to the hospital? And husband is like, nah, why don't you call the person that helped you poison my wife? I'm sure they can help. And mom instantly starts crying, like she's boohoo sobbing on the phone. And she's like, how could you accuse me of such things? I know we had a rough past, but I've been trying. I've been putting in the work so we can come together as a family. And this is pissing husband off even more because he already knows the truth. And she's trying to play it to make it seem like he's a bad person. And at this point, he's angry. So Carolina's like, just hang up the phone, babe. Because she can tell that her husband is visibly getting angry. And so husband goes to mom and he says, you know what? The healer that helped my wife from your poison, when I asked him to reverse it, maybe I should have let it kill you just like you tried to kill my wife. And he hung up the phone. When I tell you, jaws were dropped to the floor, even Carolina couldn't even believe that he just said that to his mom. And although Carolina was in pain, she felt bad because she never asked for any of this. She really just wanted like a strong family support system. Unfortunately, no matter how hard she tried, mother-in-law just didn't like her. And at one point, she just stopped trying to please her and just stopped trying to get her to like her because it's just not going to happen. And at this point, mom is blowing up husband's phone. Now, because husband knows that this is going to pass, not going to actually die from it, he's not answering. But she's like blowing up his phone. And so they get their discharge papers. They leave the hospital. And then husband tells Carolina, I'm going to drop you home and I'm going to go to my mother's house. Carolina didn't fully agree with this, but it's his mom. What can you really say? So she's like, please be careful. Because at this point, we don't know what she's capable of. Before he left to go see her, they prayed together. She made sure that they prayed together before leaving. Husband left, came back, didn't say what happened between them. He just said, we're never speaking to my mom ever again. Until this day, he has yet to speak to her. He really was strong. He was really serious about that no contact. They have yet to speak since then.
This American woman is not as innocent as she looks. In July 13, 1954, in Indiana, Ima Hogg kidnapped two of her own children, who were taken from her and were given to her ex-husband. She had lost custody of them because she wasn't able to provide for them, and doctors had diagnosed her as mentally unstable. So on that day, she went to her ex-husband's house, disguising the visit as just checking up on her children. But she had a much more sinister plan. The husband, Charles Drooler, opened the door and invited her in to see the children. What happened next would haunt the town forever. She waited until the children were asleep, then convinced Charles to share one final drink to let go of the past. Moments later, he collapsed to the floor and knocked unconscious. Ima carried the sleeping children, Sheila and Dookie, out to her car and vanished. Days turned into weeks with no sign of them. Months later, the police tracked her to an abandoned shed deep in the woods. Inside were two small coffins, each sealed and written on them, "Safe with Mother." The coffins were opened, and what was in there is the stuff of nightmares. Ima was found and was sentenced to execution, and her last words were, "I will meet them in heaven."
Could you imagine having twins just for them to turn out to be your worst nightmare? Y'all better have your snacks. Hey, snacks. English is hard. Anyways, y'all better have y'all snacks ready because it's scary story time. For today's snack, we have the same one. It's Cars sweet and salty mix. It's like nuts or something. I don't know. Anyway, so there's this wife and husband and they're pregnant. This is their first baby and they're so excited about it because they have been trying to have a baby for like a really long time. When they found out, like everybody rejoiced, their family rejoiced. Then they find out that they're actually having twins. So it's even better. After years and years of trying, not only do they get one kid, but they get two. Everyone is so happy for them and they're getting prepared. They're buying clothes, getting the nursery ready, all of that. So fast forward to the wife being 8 months pregnant. So one day she goes to the market because she's about to cook. As she's in the market, she's shopping and she sees this seller that keeps staring at her. She doesn't really pay it any mind because she's a pregnant woman. People stare, especially when you're pregnant with twins, right? Because she's huge. But that seller happened to have the exact type of spinach that she wanted to buy. So she goes to the seller and she's, asking how much. The seller doesn't even say hello. The seller immediately asks her, "When are you due?" And the wife is like, I don't even know if I want to tell you that now. The seller tells her, "I'm trying to save your life. When are you due?" That kind of took her by surprise, and she's like, okay, you know what? Maybe I don't need the spinach that bad. She starts to walk away. And the seller asks her, "Are you due on this and that date?" And it was the exact date that she was actually due. And mom turns around like, "How do you know that? Who are you? Like, why are you questioning me right now?" The seller looks at her and goes, "You don't even know what you're in for. You're carrying the children of Damballa." Now, if y'all don't know, Damballa is a serpent god, known to be one of the most evil entities to exist. Mom immediately gets mad. I'd be mad too if somebody told me the children I'm carrying are of Damballa. At this point, mom is going off. The wife is going off on the seller. The seller's like, "I apologize. I didn't mean any harm, but you should know. I understand you're mad and I understand nobody wants to be, somebody to talk bad about their kids. But I'm telling you the truth and you need to get protected now. You need to do something now because Damballa has already put their hands on your twins. I understand that this is not what you want to hear right now, but you will know that I'm telling the truth because your children, your twins, will be born under a full bloody moon." At this point, mom is calling her crazy, all types of crazy, mad, and she leaves the market. Like, she don't even want to shop no more. She leaves. She goes home. She explains to her husband her interaction today at the market. She also speaks to her mom about it. Now, her husband is like, "That was just some crazy lady. She don't know what she's talking about." But the moment she told her mom instantly got scared. Her mom is like, "We should do something about this. We should listen to her." And the wife is like, "No, we're not going to listen to her because if we listen to her, then that gives what she said power." And mom is like, "But what if what she said is true? That's not something to be played with. You may not even make it through birth." Wife don't want to hear none of that. She dismisses her mom. And a little bit of time goes past, maybe 2 to 3 weeks, getting prepared to give birth. And then wife finds out that the day that she's supposed to give birth is going to be a full bloody moon.
Imagine catching eyes with somebody as you sit in your car in the middle of the night, then later finding out they had just killed your family member. This is the horrifying case of Lily Sullivan. It was a cold winter's night in December 2021 in Pembrokeshire in Wales. Lily Sullivan was a beautiful 18-year-old girl described as kind and really caring by her friends and family. Her mum Anna had been desperate for children before she had Lily. She tragically suffered 14 miscarriages before having Lily and was just absolutely overjoyed when Lily was born safe and sound. The family couldn't believe their luck. She was literally like their little miracle. But Lily's life would be cut tragically short at just 18. Lily was a sociable girl. She loved getting glam and going out with friends, and she did just that on the night in question. She'd gone to a nightclub with a group of friends and, unfortunately for her, met a man called Lewis Haynes. He was a 31-year-old oil refinery worker from the area and took a liking to Lily despite having a girlfriend at the time. They left the club just a few minutes apart, which was captured on CCTV footage, but Lily already had prior arrangements to go and meet her mum. Lily was not prepared to go back to any lad's house. She was sticking to the plan that her mum would drive to meet her. Around 2:47 a.m, Lily's mum rang her from the car from the meeting point, asking why Lily wasn't there yet. Lily started to say that she was on her way, but then the call mysteriously disconnected. Lily's mum was obviously really confused by this. She tried to call her daughter back, but had no luck. Little did she know, this was the moment Lewis would force himself on Lily after she refused his advances. Terrifyingly, a local resident nearby heard a woman scream. Lewis forcibly removed Lily's top as she tried to protest and tell him that she would report him. He then callously strangled her to death. Meanwhile, Lily's poor mum was ringing her continuously, a total of 30 times. She was desperately trying to get through, and I think in that situation you would just be panicking so much, you would just be desperate to hear your daughter's voice. She sat in her car nearby to collect her daughter, having no idea of the horrors that had just unfolded. And actually just moments later, Lewis walked past her car and looked her dead in the eye. She had no idea she'd just locked eyes with her daughter's killer. Lewis actually apparently went home to his girlfriend at this point and admitted what he'd done. Lily's mum was still out frantically hunting for her daughter until about 4 a.m. But sadly, in the early hours of the morning, Lily's body was found near Mill Pond. She had injuries to her face, neck and body. Police identified 3 local dog walkers who'd been around that area at that time and spoke to them as witnesses. Lewis was identified pretty quickly from CCTV and witness statements, and in court he denied the murder being S-motivated. However, the judge did determine that this was a lie. The judge stated that when Lily threatened to report Lewis due to the fact that he was in the middle of an ongoing legal matter and, quote, had a lot to lose, end quote, he decided to kill her. How about you don't go around forcing yourself on women and then you won't need to worry about being reported? He was jailed for life and will serve a minimum of 23 years.
Snacks in hand, the vibe is set, and once I start, you won't forget. Don't eat too much because you gotta stay fine, but come on, bestie, it's story time. You ever just locked eyes with something or someone and just immediately knew, like, dude, there's nothing human about you? You know it's something in there. Hey, bestie, as always, go get your snack and comment a picture of it in the comments. I want to see what y'all eating because I know they're not snacks for real. So turns out, hell yeah, I was shadow banned. But I guess that last video kind of got me out of the shadow ban thing. I don't know. We're gonna see. Okay, on to the story time. I'm a little congested, so bear with me. So, back in 2017, for the sake of the story, let's call this woman Harley. Now, Harley was working as a receptionist at a hospital clinic. However, Harley is not just your regular day-to-day receptionist. She's a spiritual one, the kind that keeps holy water at her desk. Baby, she's prepared. She makes sure that she prays every shift to cleanse all the energy. So boom, one afternoon, there's this elderly woman that walks in and she comes in to just update some paperwork. Nothing unusual, but she wasn't alone. Her daughter was with her. From the moment not my phone overheating. Anyway, from the moment that they walked up to the desk, Harley just knew that something felt off. The daughter never looked up. She just kept her head down the whole time, didn't say anything. She just stood there. Odd, but whatever. So she helps them. I know y'all just saw that. You know what? I'm gonna even post this so y'all what? Anyway, we're gonna try to keep going. So she helps them, right? And as soon as she's done helping them, that's when the daughter decides to look up. And when she looked up at Harley, her eyes were pitch black. Not just dark, not just tired, but like no soul black. She was staring straight into Harley's soul. And at that moment, that's when Harley knew, yeah, that baby gone. Whoever's in that baby, nothing good. As she looked closer, she realized the girl also had like pointy teeth, like sharp teeth. And after she saw that, she was like, She starts rebuking it in her head. She's like praying and rebuking it in her head. And the whole time, that girl is still staring into Harley's soul. Mind you, her and her mom walked away at this point to go sit down, and she's still staring at Harley. But here's where it gets weirder, right? Because obviously she still had to keep doing her job. So she had other tasks to do, so she ended up walking past them. Why did the girl trip her? Like, she legit tried to trip her. Thank God Harley didn't fall. But after that happened, she turned around and looked at her, and that little girl gave her the most evil smile that she could see. That moment, Harley's like, see, yeah, no, I'm not about to play with you. She walked back to her desk, and as she's walking back, she's looking. The girl is still staring at her. She's like, I bet, I got something for you. So she gets the holy water that she had at her desk, and she starts cleaning her entire desk with the holy water, the floor with where the girl was standing on, even the air where the girl was breathing. And as soon as she started doing that, why did the little evil girl go and grab her head like she got a headache and tell her mom, my head hurts? That was confirmation for Harley to know that she's not bugging. There's a demon in there. So she continued to do what she was doing, continued to cleanse the area, and eventually they had to leave. So next time you walk into a hospital or like an office building and your gut is telling you that something's off, or you just feel like a chill for no reason, because not all demons comes in with horns in their heads. Some of them wait in the lobby with their heads down. Anyway, I don't know what it is, but something did not want me to get this story out. Anyways, if you want to know how to protect yourself from these things, the link is in my bio. I have an ebook that teaches you how to do just that. I've had so many great reviews of people saying their lives are literally changing because of it. So take it from them, not me. So please engage with my content so I don't get shadow banned again. Like, I don't want to stay separated to y'all. I love you guys. Okay, bye.
However, coined the phrase, you can't make this stuff up, might have known the story of real-life boogeyman, Albert Fish. A slight, elderly man with grey hair, no one suspected the kindly single father of being sadistic child murderer and cannibal.
This man murdered his son to try and stop the world seeing these photos. It was 2012 in picturesque Colorado. Mark Redwine had been divorced twice and had 2 children with his ex-wife Elaine. The pair were actually in the midst of a bitter custody battle over 13-year-old Dylan Redwine. Now, Dylan had expressed to his brother Corey that he felt uncomfortable spending time with his dad. It would only later be revealed the potential reason for this. Some horrifying, disturbing selfies that the brothers had found in 2011. On the 18th of November, Mark picked up Dylan from the airport. Dylan had finally agreed to go and spend some time with his dad. CCTV from the airport showed the pair barely interacting when they saw each other. Texts from Dylan's phone actually show that he had arranged to meet up with a friend the next morning at 6:30 a.m. His last text that night was at 9:37 p.m. Dylan never showed up to meet his friend the following day, and his friend texted him at 6:46 a.m. He was really worried when he never got a reply. Mark's version of events would later be that Dylan had left that morning and just simply never returned. Now, a huge search of the local area began. Everybody was looking everywhere for missing Dylan. Interestingly, at 11 p.m. that night, Mark's house went pitch black. Now, with a missing child, you would think that Mark would be up all night desperately trying to find the whereabouts of his missing child. Either that, or he would at least leave some kind of lights on so that if Dylan did come home, he could see the house, he could get in. Within days of the disappearance, one of Mark's ex-wives told police something harrowing. He had apparently previously told her that if he wanted to dispose of a body, he would get rid of it in the mountains. He'd also apparently said to her that he would rather kill the kids than let her have them. Obviously, this was very disturbing in the context of the custody battle that was going on. Mark was interviewed on TV and asked about the allegations against him. He appeared quite suspicious on this interview because he was talking about his son in the past tense. An agonizing 7 months passed before Dylan's remains were eventually found. He was only 8 miles from Mark's house, just off a trail. A witness came forward to say that they had seen Mark driving alone in the area in April 2013. The trail that Dylan's body was found off was an ATV trail, so an all-terrain vehicle trail. Mark actually owned an ATV himself. Mark and Dylan's mum actually appeared on the Dr. Phil show shortly after. They were throwing accusations at each other. Interestingly, Mark refused to take a lie detector test. Then a telling discovery was made. In August 2013, police found Dylan's blood in Mark's living room. Cadaver dogs also indicated the smell of death. A cadaver dog also indicated that human remains were present in the washing machine of the home. Cadaver smell was on Mark's clothes and in his vehicle. Mark was arrested for second-degree murder and child abuse. So what was the motive for this crime? As I mentioned, there were some really sickening images that the brothers had found. Dylan's brother stated that the pair discovered the photographs of Mark dressed in women's clothing with human feces all around his face, eating human feces from a nappy. Now, one of the images is just too graphic for me to post on TikTok, but you can easily find this on Google. Dylan and his dad's relationship had been gradually declining. Dylan had actually asked his brother to send him the images that his brother had collected just before the November visit. He said he intended to confront his dad about them. He had no idea this would be fatal. The prosecution claimed that when Mark found out that Dylan knew about these photographs, it triggered a rage in him and he killed Dylan. He was given 48 years in prison for the murder of his son.
This is how I found out I was living inside of a literal haunted house. So thankfully it's not the house that I'm living in right now, but it was my old house, and let me just tell y'all, it was small, creepy, and I always got a bad vibe from it. And what I'm about to share are my top 3 experiences and how I knew that we had to get the hell out of there. So this night is what I feel like started it all and opened a portal for all the demons and monsters and ghosts to come out and haunt us. Y'all know when y'all have a dream inside of a dream and you wake up and you're like, wait, I thought that was real life? That's what I had. So I had a dream inside of my dream that I woke up out of my sleep and I was in my room on my top bunk bed staring at the door. And y'all, being on a bunk bed is crucial to the story, so keep that in mind. So in this dream, I wake up out of my sleep, I shoot up and I'm looking at my door and there's a girl standing right there. She's standing at the door, pale as ever. She has long black hair and she's wearing this white dress. At this point, I cannot see her face. The only thing that I know is that she's a little girl. And I also knew that we didn't have any guests over, so I was like, who the hell is she? So y'all know in horror movies when there's like a ghost or a monster and their mouth opens up wide like they're about to consume something? That's what happened with this girl. So that girl is standing at my doorway and her mouth starts to open and she's coming towards me, and instantly I wake up out of that dream and now I'm like fully awake. So I shoot up out of my dream and I look up at the doorway, but nothing is there. When I tell y'all, I was freaking out, and here is where the bunk bed is crucial to the story. So I'm at the top of my bunk bed, there's nobody sleeping at the bottom. So keep in mind, I just had this scary dream that I saw a girl there. Tell me why I'm on the top of my bunk bed and I start to feel it shake. My natural instinct was to put the cover over my head, lay back down, because ain't no way in hell was I about to pop my head over the railing to see who was down there. No. I remember I sat there in silence, frozen, waiting for this bed to stop shaking, and I was freaking out the whole entire time, and when I told my parents about this, they did not believe me. But here's why I said that this probably opened up a portal for ghosts and other things to enter inside my house. So after that moment, this is when stuff started to get really, really crazy. So one night I decided to tuck myself into bed while everyone was still awake or getting ready to go to sleep. So at this point, doors closed, lights are off. So now tell me why I'm in my bed and I feel something tug at my collar. So I'm thinking, okay, maybe, I'm just like moving around in my sleep. Maybe that's what caused it. I move slightly. That was not the case at all. After I adjusted myself and made sure that I was not moving at all, tell me why about 5 minutes later, I feel another tug, but this time it's like tugging at the back of my collar, and I'm like choking at this point. I'm like, who is pulling on my collar? So I take off my shirt, I open the door, and I leave it open, and I tell my parents, can you please have your door open just in case? So after that incident happened, I told my parents, I was like, listen, I need a nightlight for my room. I do not care. Get me one, please. And this last incident is when I knew that I was living inside of a haunted house. So this one day, I decided to rearrange my room, and my bed at this point is facing the window. So basically the bed is like that and the window is right there. So this night in particular, I decided to sleep facing the wall. So now I can't see what's going on behind me. And of course, this night was the night that I got sleep paralysis for the first time. So all I remember is that I woke up from my sleep and I could not move at all. When I tell y'all my heart was touching my feet, like I was freaking the fuck out. So because I can't move, I can't see what's behind me. Keep that in mind. So about 5 minutes into me freaking out, I hear a ball start bouncing. I can hear it and the ball is far away and it starts to get closer to the point where it starts bouncing underneath my bed. So y'all, keep in mind, I still cannot move. I can't turn around to see what's happening. So I'm hearing this ball bounce underneath my bed and then all of a sudden it suddenly stops. So you know when you get chills and you can just feel like the vibe is off? I got that instantly and I started feeling this vibration, this heavy vibration that something was right next to me. So at this point, while I'm feeling this vibration next to me, my whole body just completely shuts down. I'm sweating, I start crying, and then all of a sudden I'm able to move. I don't think I've ever shot up from my bed so fast in my life. When I had the ability to move, I moved. So I got up, I started screaming. My parents probably thought that there was an intruder in the house. I started screaming, I ran to my door, opened it, ran into my brother's room and said, I'm sleeping here tonight. Then my parents woke up, they started coming into the room, they were like, what's going on, what's going on? I told them exactly what happened, and I told them about my previous experiences about what happened in this house. And after that day, we got the house blessed, and we never heard anything ever again. But y'all, that's how I found out that my house is haunted, and I have so many more stories, but that was just the top 3.
Imagine witnessing your friend trying to sell you to none other than Baron Samedi. I already know what time it is. It's scary story time. And who needs enemies when you have friends like this? We have this girl. Let's call her Sarah. And the friend that tried to sell her, y'all, not only did that friend try to sell her, that friend attempted to unalive her about 3 times. Let's call her Snake. Yeah. I got my snack, so get yours. So Sarah knew this girl for about a year or so. Throughout that whole year of friendship, she started to notice that Snake had a jealousy problem. Like at first, she didn't want to jump to conclusions and be like, oh, she's jealous of me. But actions started to show slowly. Which was a bit weird because Sarah was never the type to flaunt stuff or brag. She's a really private person, so nobody really knows her business for real. However, Sarah was one of those lucky people that really never had any money issue as an adult. And she thanks God every day for it. Her faith was so strong that money would just naturally come to her. But that doesn't mean she went around bragging about it. She was just blessed. And because that was her friend at the time, she would always help her friend out whenever she needed it. She was even helping take care of her daughter up until she was 2 to 3 years old. And then they stopped talking, she cut her off permanently for the story I'm about to tell you. Anyways, you get it. So this particular day, she woke up with the heaviest feeling on her heart. No matter how hard she tried, that feeling was just there and she didn't know what it was. She tried to ignore it and go to work, but it was such an overwhelming feeling that she had to keep calling her husband about it. To tell her husband, something is not right. I have this strange feeling. Throughout the day, too, weird things kept happening. There was these parents that physically tried to attack her. And on her way home, her car literally just died in the middle of the highway. And she almost got into this really bad accident because her car literally just stopped. So finally, after an eventful day, with that feeling still heavy on her heart, she makes it home. She's glad she's home. She tells her husband about it. They pray and they go to bed at the end of the night. And this is where it starts getting crazy because when she went to bed, she fell asleep, right? And when she fell asleep, she got up, left her body on the bed, and her soul went to a cemetery. She doesn't know why. She just knows she went to a cemetery. Her soul went to a cemetery. And when she gets there, she's standing there and she's looking around. From afar, she sees 2 people. She sees a lady and she sees a tall man in a top hat, a cane, and a trench coat. Immediately, she already knew who that was. But she can't really tell who the lady is. Not until the lady started talking and she recognized that was her friend's voice. And her friend said to Baon, I have brought a soul for you to take. Excuse me? And Baon replies to her, I can't take this soul, nor do I want this soul. And Miss Snake seems kind of surprised and offended that Baon said this to her. And so she dares question him. She's like, how dare you refuse a soul? This is what you do. I'm bringing you a perfectly good soul. You can do whatever you want with her, and you're telling me you don't want it? Why? And Baon replies, I can't take her soul. And he raises his cane and points it at her. He says, I do not want her, nor can I take her, so bring me another soul. Bring me someone else. And she says, okay.
because it's Baron Samedi. You don't want to argue with him. But the thing is, had she actually tried to bring another soul in the place of Sarah, Baron would have just took her instead. Anyway, Sarah wakes up, right? And she's like, what the heck was that? Like, what the hell? And she wakes her husband up and she explains the dream to her husband. So her and her husband prayed once again. Then they went on about their night. And it wasn't until after the dream, turns out, come to find out, y'all, that same night that Sarah had that dream, Snake went to a voodoo priest to sell Sarah's soul to Baron Samedi. And after she went to the voodoo priest, they did what they did to finalize the sale. She went to the military. Mind you, this is same night. Military. Why did I say military? I meant cemetery. I don't know why that came out. Anyways, she went to the cemetery that same night to do a ritual at the cemetery to finalize killing Sarah. But to her surprise, Baron denied. The whole interaction that she saw in her dream was actually real. She was literally watching Snake, her friend, trying to sell her. And that's why, ladies and gentlemen, you gotta stay prayed up. You gotta stay protected. Because who needs enemies when you have a friend like Snake?